Hello, welcome to today's edition of Sobriety Life with me, Richie Crook. Today I'm going to talk about addiction itself. And there's many ways we can look at addiction, but I'm just going to give my point of view about addiction and how it got me into a place where I did not want to be at all. Can I just say that whatever I do say, I am not an expert in this field. It's just from past experiences, and I'm certainly not a professional in the game. I'm just going to give you my views on the word addiction, and everybody's is different, so it's not sort of a stereotypical sort of thing. So anyway, addiction. For me, addiction was, in my early days, I would go out from quite an early age, be a bit of the Jack the Lad with the lads at the pub, going to the football, and obviously there comes drink gets involved, so it goes from sort of like a Friday night and a Saturday and maybe a Sunday lunchtime, a few beers, maybe binge drinking on Friday, which turned into Saturday, and then just sort of it just sort of started to progress and sort of snowball. But anyway, in the early days, I thought I thought I was in control of my drink. But the big question I asked myself is, was I in control of drinking? Now I've actually got sober, become more bright and sort of focused. I actually look back now and think, was I in control or was I not in control? Was that just the start of a road to addiction, which it probably was, to be perfectly honest. As the years went by, I got a great group of friends that I travel about the world with and go on holidays with and socialise with, and each time was getting more and more and more messy, and more drink, more and more partying, all day partying, running into next day. And then it was becoming a little bit more of a challenge to stop the drinking and partying, basically. Going to many Oasis concerts and, traveling all over Europe, worldwide, to go and watch Oasis and other bands, Glastonbury, and, just really having sort of my teenage years and my 20s were like quite a bit of a blur to me, really, as I sort of sit here and think now. So the drinking got more and more intense. My job literally was working all over Europe, worldwide, England, staying away from home from my wife. And it was getting to a point where I was drinking every single day after work. By this time, I actually thought I was addicted, because as soon as I finished work, it was straight in the pub or the place we were staying, and there was, starting off like 5 pints a night, maybe 6 pints a night, and this is all during the week. And when I got back at weekends, obviously my social life, people wanted to go out, so it was the trend was there then, and we're talking maybe 20 years ago. This is what I was doing 20 years ago, sort of 5-10 pints a night at the weekend, binge drink on a Friday, binge drink on a Saturday, and then probably have a couple to sort of try and sort my head out on a Sunday lunchtime. All socialising at weekends and all just drinking for the sake of it in the week. And then it sort of, by this time, I definitely thought, looking back now, I was addicted. But at the time I thought, people just say, oh, Rich likes to drink. But I wasn't happy drinking. People at weekends seem to have this whale of a time where I was probably hungover from the week and was not enjoying the weekend, because the alcohol was a depressant, not a stimulant to get you going, and it wasn't releasing the endorphins in my brain to have a fantastic time and laugh and joke and talk shit. And, other people were doing that, but I wasn't. So looking back now, it was a big problem, because I was a depressed drunk when I was out, monged out, but in the early days, I was sort of almost like life and soul of the party, singing, shouting, just being a bit of a knob, Jack the Lad, really. But, by my late 20s, it was sort of becoming more and more of an addiction. I would have 2 weeks of sobriety where I would stop drinking for 2 whole weeks and I was feeling okay, sort of almost normal. And then as soon as I started drinking again, because I was telling myself I've done such a good job by not drinking for these 2 weeks, I'd drink the amounts I've just not drank, in them 2 weeks. I would double the what I was consuming then for the next 2 weeks. So I was waking up absolutely hanging every day, trying to hold a decent position in a job, out on site, meeting people with, manual labour. And it was just becoming a problem. So, and then, if we look at it now, and by this time, I wasn't drinking in daytimes or anything like that. It was just always after work. It was almost like a work hard, play hard mentality, but I wasn't enjoying it by this time. Other people was, I wasn't. So the addiction had started then. And the problem is I wouldn't surrender to the addiction and get any help, because a lot of people tried to help me. I tried to go to the doctors several times, and I will give you some advice. Don't go to the doctors with a drink problem, because all they're going to do is get you out the door as quick as you possibly can. So if you're struggling now, really, really don't know where to go, you're really at your wit's end, first thing I would say for you to do is you need to get some medication, maybe do a home detox. But it has to be controlled. You can't try and do it on your own, because you could end up, doing some really serious harm to yourself. But the detox will consist of like a benzo, like a Librium, but it has to be controlled, where one of your loved ones or one of your partners would have to administer the drug to you on a regular basis. But it will be controlled by, nurses, outside nurses who will drop the medication round. So if you are really at your wit's end, you don't know where to turn, believe me, I've been there, and there is places you can turn. Number one, you can walk into an AA meeting. AA to me was absolutely and utterly a swear word in my mid-20s and 30s. Swear word. I wouldn't even entertain the idea, because I thought it was a load of drunks, a load of old people pissed on cider on park benches, or I really labelled them as these sort of low life, sort of just people that have got no hope or help, so the AA was a no-no. But now, progressively, as I progressed through the years, and I was thinking to myself, I can't do this anymore. I can't physically do this anymore. I'm not enjoying it. I don't know which way to turn. I've never been in, I was saying to myself, I've never been to rehab. I've tried to stop drinking and then always start again. But I knew this inside. I'm quite headstrong. I knew this inside. So what I decided to do, I went to see the doctor, and I knew what the answers were going to be, because I went there for some medication to try and get some anti-withdrawal medication, and they basically just throw you out the door and tell you to seek self-help from elsewhere on the internet or from a local place, which again, there must be so many people just walking out the doctors scratching their heads saying, what's the point? So I really believe they need some more help in the NHS towards people with addiction, alcohol addiction, which we can touch on that on another program. But yeah, where was I? Anyway, so addiction, I sort of got myself a bit lost there. But yeah, I'm just going on about addiction and where you can go, and and how it creeps up on you. And I was getting to a point where, yeah, the AA, that was it, sorry. The AA. Anyway, back to the AA, and I'll go, because I do feel a little bit between subjects, so forgive me. But the AA, when I walked through them doors the first time, absolutely shitting myself. I had no idea what to expect. So I thought I'd be open-minded. I can always walk out if it's going to really sort of pee me off, and it is going to be all these drunks and sort of got paper bags underneath the table having a quick swig, all unshaven, long hair, stinking the place out of booze and piss. But to my surprise, it was the complete opposite. absolutely mind-blowing, to be perfectly honest. I walked through the doors, I was late, I was half cut, to be perfectly honest. I had a few beers on board for a bit of Dutch courage, as they call it, but what's Dutch courage? I mean, that's another subject, another programme. Anyway, I walked through the doors, everybody said welcome, and there was people there, black, white, rich, poor, tall, short, fat, thin, you name it, there was every single creed there, which is great. I mean, so I walked in and someone shook my hand and asked me if I would like a coffee, and I was thinking, where's the catch? So I said, yes, please. We sat down and they started the meeting and people were sharing. I've never seen anything like it before. You know, what goes on in a room stays in the room. So there was people, like grown men of from 70 to 20, sharing their experiences of the week, what they've been up to, how they're struggling. There's a person sharing his story from starting to get sober to finish and getting, finding sobriety, which I thought was mind blowing because it made me feel like I wasn't alone. These people have been there, done it, and brought the t-shirt. Talking of t-shirts, I've got my t-shirt on there, which is the AA t-shirt, which I love all my merch, to be honest with you. My wife's always telling me to stop buying so much crap. But anyway, I'm going off again. So the AA meeting went well, and they try and provide you with a 12-step program to sort of beat addiction, beat the alcohol, which is fine. I mean, it's not working for me at the moment, 12-step. I do go to 3 meetings a week, and that really cleanses me. That sort of, Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, and each time I come out there, I've got a beaming smile on my face. So anytime I'm feeling a little bit like, oh, shall I? One drink wouldn't hurt. Straight to a meeting, and I actually share in the meeting that I'm having these thoughts, and then other people who have experienced it give you a bit of knowledge and a bit of wisdom and a bit of sort of praise that you've actually made it into the rooms to actually share that you're feeling this, and they try and help you, and they give you some guidance and some tips on what to do, where to go, and how to overcome it, which is great. And that's how I use the AA. So, and we will touch on the AA on more programs, but that is definitely a one place to go. If you're struggling, just go and sit down there. I mean, I've seen, going on again, but I've seen a lady come into our local AA meeting, and for the first 6 months, she was pissed every time she come in there. And she was honest, and she said, I can't stop. I just cannot stop drinking. Nice to see her afterwards scuttling to the shop across the road, getting another 2 bottles of wine. And at the time I thought, that lady must be really suffering, because once the addiction takes hold of you, the addiction owns you. You are not a normal person anymore. You are not a person who can think properly, who can act properly. You can't sleep. You can't eat. All you think about is drink 24 hours a day. If you do get any sleep, which is very, very unlikely, but if you do, the first thought on your mind when you wake up is drink. And you will not stop drinking all day until you pass out, black out, or fall asleep. Many people, many alcoholics will just black out. They could be anywhere and they'll just black out. You could find people asleep underneath a tree. I mean, I'm guilty for that. I mean, that's another program, but just black out. And then you wake up, come round, absolutely groggy as anything. Really, you should be hydrating yourself with water, but the first thing you go to is booze. I mean, I was lucky. I say lucky, but it's still a dreadful disease, but I never went onto spirits ever. I was never a spirits drinker. I would say only, but I was just a lager drinker. However, I could pack a lot of lager away in one day, which I'm sure if there's any sort of, 20-odds, 30, 40-year-old lads, they will know what I mean. You can pack a lot of lager away, and it was sort of strong lager, Stella. That's the only thing I would drink. And I could quite easily do 25, 30 cans of Stella in a day. And you imagine that every single day. And then in the end, you have to surrender. You surrender, and for me, I'm just going to get back on track, but I'm just telling you, the addiction got me really. So it's gone from going out in the week with the lads, having a great time, playing five-a-side football, playing football at the weekends, a bit of golf, going on a few holidays, pissing it up, having a great time. That's when I enjoyed the alcohol, that sort of time. It's when it become every night after work, and at weekends. That's when I started to just stop enjoying it and started to sort of can't be bothered to go away because I know what's going to happen. And that Monday morning come around and I'll be absolutely hanging, which is the word. And then anyway, it got to a point where I was in my, I would say, mid-30s to late 30s. And then the drinking started going into the daytime, where, that would be rare for me to drink in the daytime. It would only happen if I was on holiday, where I'd be the first person up, cracking the beers, having a beer at the pool first thing, which that's holiday, that's the sort of thing you do on holidays. However, it started to happen to me back in England. I used to wake on a Monday morning, violently being sick, and by this time, the addiction had really, really grabbed me by the neck and sort of said, come, it's basically dragging. The addiction is there to kill you. Let's get one thing straight. Alcohol addiction, the addiction will kill you. It will drag, I'm sorry if I'm being a bit sort of morbid, but that's exactly what the addiction will do. It drags you down into the pit, and that will not stop until you are lifeless. So that is the reality of it. So if anyone's struggling, please subscribe. Send me an email to sobrietylife.org. I'll pick up your emails and I will reply to everyone I can. If you're struggling, I can help out. I can put you in the right direction. And I will try my best. That's what I'm here for. That's why I launched this channel. It's not fully up and running yet, but anyway, that's why I've launched it. I want to help people and help myself. By me talking about my experiences, I'm hopefully giving some wisdom to you guys. And if you can take one little tiny speck of wisdom out of my podcast, then I will be very happy. So, yeah, where were we? So I was starting to drink every day. I was waking up in the morning, being violently sick, not wanting a drink. But by this time, I was needing a drink. My body was so alcohol dependent that I was needing the drink every day. So I've gone from going out with the lads to waking up in the morning, sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning, because I'm a really early riser, and absolutely puking my guts up, and severe shits. I'm gonna be as crude as that. Really not a well person at all, really not a well person. And I just had to reach for a can or some alcohol to try and make me stop shaking, stop being sick, and just try to sort of iron me out to be normal, which is textbook sort of addiction, that's exactly what it's doing. So then it started for that day, and then there'd be another drink, and 15 minutes later, another drink, 15 minutes later, another drink, maybe a little, and this is when I'm trying to hold down the job. I've been in the job for 20 odd years by then, 20 years in the same job. And now, and I've always masked and hid the sort of drink problem I had. However, I'm sure the bosses knew deep down that, I wasn't right, I wasn't normal, but never once did they reach out and ask me that. It was just, it was all work. They wanted their pound of flesh out of me, and they were determined to get it out of me. Unfortunately, I was going the other way into addiction, and there's no fault's all mine. But sometimes I look back and think someone should have pulled me in and said, look, you need some help. But anyway, we are where we are, hence the reason why I'm here. So it got to drinking, and then suddenly I'm drinking at work, I'm drink driving, I'm trying to have conversations whilst under the influence. And then when the day finished, I'm carrying on drinking, and then I'll pass out at maybe 8, 9 o'clock, with about 20 odd beers inside me, paralytic, but not the paralytic where you're going around singing and shouting and sort of full. I just went straight to bed, just sort of, it's no life. And I was going to sleep at like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and it was just no life. There's no social life. It's just the alcohol then has taken complete control of you. And you are very, very alone, very sad, very alone, very withdrawn. People can't speak to you. You think you're on your own. You think you're the only person in the world that suffered with addiction. And it's a sad, sad, sad place to be. You feel like a dog chasing his tail, and you can never catch it. Another one I used to think is like, I don't know if you've ever put salt down and the slug's been there, or and you see it squirming and sort of really trying, it's in absolute agony. That is what you are. You're in agony through the addiction and the withdrawal. If you allow the withdrawal to come into your body, it is horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. So the first thing you do to stop the withdrawal, you have another drink, and then another drink, and then another drink, and then you're chasing drink. That's what I call it, is chasing. So you're chasing a feeling of contentness that you can never ever achieve. And that's the addiction. So you will chase that and chase that and chase that, and you'll never get it. When you got the contentness when you were younger, going through your few pints, five-a-side football, good laugh, good sing-song, bit of karaoke, you had the contentness. But when you fall into addiction, you cannot find contentness. All you can find is carnage, fear, withdrawal, severe withdrawal, which is far worse than heroin, pain and suffering to your loved ones. You lie, you cheat, and you're basically an arsehole. And you are. And when you get sober and you get into the sobriety of, sobriety living, you look back and you realise you have been an arsehole. But the fear, the carnage, the pain is just something that I never want to go back to. And it takes a lot to get out of the alcohol addiction trap. And it is a trap. It's like you've got fog over your eyes. So you imagine having fog over your eyes and you can't see your hand in front of you. And that is what the addiction does. It stops you from thinking clearly. It stops you from acting clearly. It gets you in trouble. For instance, if you're completely addicted and under the influence 24/7, you'll get in a car and drive up the road, all to get that next fix of alcohol. And when you stop, you look back. And there's no point now in looking back and regrets. There's no regrets. There's no point in having any regrets. Life's too short for regrets. You look back and you learn, and it makes you a stronger person. And that's what I mean. The addiction is a very, very, very powerful word. Addiction and relapse run together. If you relapse, you're back into addiction. One drink for me, and I'm sure I could talk for hundreds of thousands of other addicts or alcoholics. I'm sure I can talk for them. The first, if you fall into relapse, because I've relapsed, and this is going to be another subject on another show, but I've relapsed, I don't know how many times. I mean, I've lost count how many times I've relapsed. But touch wood, this time is sort of a completely different scenario, which again is going to be another sort of show. But once you relapse, your normal thoughts go into an alcoholic's head that, I'm just going to have one drink. My wife's there having a cider outside, we're having something nice to eat. I'm not in an environment where I'm going to drink 20 pints or 10 pints. So let's just try one, country pub, all that. That one drink, I can promise you now. And if you are genuinely you have got the alcohol disorder, then that one drink in relapse, that'll lead to 2 drinks. Maybe not on the same day, but the next day, because the alcohol then, it's like you've got a big monster and a little monster. The big monster is your head. It's your head telling you one drink will be all right, one drink will be all right. And the little monster is saying, yeah, go on, we'll have that one drink. That's going to go to 2 drinks. And by the time you get to, I would say 1 week, you will be drinking exactly the same as what you were drinking before you got sober. For instance, for me, I was sober for 18 months. Absolutely loving thing. But then I allowed that monster to get in my head and start saying to me, you're not happy, Rich. You're not happy. You're not happy in sobriety. You look at everybody else. They go to a pub, they have a drink, they have another drink, they have another drink. And then they stop and they're having a whale of a time and you're not happy. And this is what you allow things to start fermenting in your head. At the time, I wasn't using the AA. I was trying to do the willpower method, which you think you got control of it. The willpower method, if you don't seek professional help in any way, you are not going to beat it. I can tell you that now. And very few people ever do. But anyway, so I was trying to do it on the willpower method, like I've done for the previous 22 or 23 years. And I was 18 months in. Sorry, that was the dog. I was 18 months into sobriety, and one drink put me back to where I was 18 months before. And the withdrawal afterwards is worse than the time before and the time before that, because you drink as much as you can, and almost like 18 months of drinking, you're making up for lost time. So that, again, that's the addiction that's got you. So that really, I'm going to leave it there because I've been going on for so long. It's been nearly half an hour, but I was just giving some insight into the actual addiction, how it can start really, really, really small and end up really snowballing into a massive, massive problem. And then once you get to that problem, there's no way out. You're trapped. You're in that trap, chasing your tail. You cannot get out of it. You think you're backed into a corner and you think you can't get out. However, you can get out. And I will help you and best I can in any advice. So please subscribe. Drop me an email at sobrietylife.org anytime you like, and I promise I'll get back to you. But it's been a pleasure speaking with you guys, and I look forward to the podcast number 3. Thanks. Take care.